Previously on the BBi project, after painstakingly stripping the car, being ultra careful not to break anything in the process, and then very carefully restoring every part, nut and bolt, we are finally starting to reassemble this very rare, beautiful Ferrari. So the focus today is to get all of the exterior of the BBi put back together and pretty much complete, looking very pretty indeed. We've got all the windows going in, we've got grills, we've got badges, we've got lock systems, we've got electrics, a whole list of jobs to do. And well, I've already come up with my first problem. Once all the windows are in the car, we're going to be focusing on installing all of the grills and all of the vents that we've just had done on the engine lid here. But I've got a bit of a problem. You see, we've got all these holes here, and that is where the grills are riveted in. So we've got one big one, one slim one, one big one here, and we've got a couple of little black ones. But the issue I've got, if you can see on this grill down here, it's not fully lined up. So we've got a hole here in the engine lid, and we've got a hole through the grill, and they've got to be riveted in place. Now the issue I've got is getting a rivet gun in this small gap. If I put my finger in there, you can see that's how big it is. And well, that is a bit of a problem because my rivet gun does not fit in there. Currently, this is what I've got. I've got a really expensive, really nice rivet gun here that I bought because the head there was actually quite slim. But when you try and get it in the slot there is absolutely no way. And even if I could get it in, it is just not going to be at the right angle to rivet correctly. I've also tried, before anyone comments on this, I've tried a couple of very cheaper, just manual ones, and again the head is too big. I've had two of those that are just not going to work at the moment. So the gap there, as you can see, is really not a lot at all. So I can't actually figure out how to install the grills correctly as Ferrari did at factory. So what I've done is I put a post out just now on my socials. Hopefully someone's going to come up with a genius solution. In the meantime, we're going to jump ship and go and start doing the windows. I've got the guys from Collision Repair Group who are just about to arrive. Now, if you remember, these guys came 3 years ago and helped me remove them before we could do the complete respray on this car. And it was a real tricky and very sketchy job. So I've called the experts back. We're going to be reinstalling those in the car, getting it nice and sealed up, ready for, well, the winter. It's a bit cold in here, so I want to really try and get all of that secure. Now, before they arrive, there's one other job I need to do. The windows on the BBi are reassembled like a jigsaw puzzle, the rear frames sitting over the top of the freshly powder coated roof trim pieces. So these all need to be put in place before we can fit any windows. With the roof trims all in place, I now need to fit a load of these special clips that I've purchased from Ferrari for £3.80 each. These are placed around the front and rear screen aperture. Once the glass is fitted, the purpose of these is to hold in an outer trim that tidies up the whole look of the screens. The bonus part of this job is at least I get to use my new electric rivet gun. The guys from Collision Repair Group arrive on site, and I'm really pleased it's these guys who are refitting it because I'm still having nightmares from removing this screen. When they say blood, sweat and tears on a build like this, they're not wrong, you know? Little tip for you guys, never hold the blade the wrong way up because it just slices your finger. The other thing is, Ferrari used a horrible gooey substance to seal in those screens, which was an absolute nightmare to remove. Holding it apart, but look at this, I'm really careful with this screwdriver, you can just see this gooey mastic. Watch this. Look at that. Lately, there seems to be storms happening everywhere around the world, and when you read the headlines, these storms often leave thousands of homes without power for days on end. And you can kiss goodbye to power issues when you've got one of these. This is the newly released Delta3 Plus from EcoFlow. It's a 1 kilowatt portable power station, and right now it is powering up absolutely everything you can see here. My desk, my camera kit, my microwave, my refrigerator, my torch, my phone, and even my kettle. And it's really versatile both indoors and outdoors. Right now I've got a compressor, a vacuum cleaner, a heat gun and a polisher. All of them require some serious power, but check this out. At the front we've got multiple connections. We've got 2 USB-Cs, 2 normal USBs and 4 power sockets. Under the flap you charge the unit here and it's power ready in just 30 minutes. The large central port allows you to attach an extra battery from EcoFlow, and these 2 small orange sockets are very cool indeed because they allow you to go completely off-grid by hooking in one of these cool accessories, the solar panel from EcoFlow. Check this out. This is awesome and it literally only takes a few seconds to hook up with the 2 connections. Let me show you. We've got a tiny bit of winter sunshine here in the UK, so let's see if this solar panel works. With the extension cable I plug it into the 2 sockets on the back of the solar panel, and then the orange other end plugs into the back of the power station. Simple. Just sat here, I'm getting around 6 watts, but correctly set up with some bright sunshine, I could get up to 220. When we finish the next car build, I'm going to be taking it on the most ultimate road trip. And you know which 2 bits of kit I'm going to be packing first? This new Delta3 Plus is a seriously impressive bit of kit by EcoFlow. Make sure you add one of these to your setup by clicking on the link in the description below the video. And if you use my code, you're going to get a nice little discount. Now I've got to say a massive thanks to EcoFlow for not only sending me this awesome bit of kit, but also sponsoring today's video. Now let's get back to the build. James and Mark from CRG jump straight into getting the job done. First up, it's the front screen. And again, because we're doing the job absolutely correctly, we are still using the factory methods, which means reinstalling that horrible gooey mastic that really never goes solid. As you saw when I was removing it 40 years later, it's still sticky. Now the downside of using this is it's almost a one-time chance when you refit the screen. Basically there is no movement or very little movement because it's so sticky. So it's a very difficult, and it means pinpoint precision, and that also means you have to leave the gap around the edge for the newly fitted clips to allow the final trim bezel to go in place afterwards. But we're in the safe hands of professionals and the guys do a fantastic job with absolute perfect gap all around the screen. With the front done, it's time to fit the rear screen. This one I'm quite excited about. This is why I kept the engine out for sure. It's made your life so much easier. And it's the same method on the back screen using the same material. In fact, the guys had to order it in specially because it has not been used in the industry for a very long time. With the rear screen perfectly aligned and in place, well, the next job is to start fitting those outer trims. These trims really tidy up the look of the glass, and with the fresh powder coat finish, they look fantastic on the BBi. Alright, so we are just going through. Let's take the trim off again. Unfortunately, nothing to do with these guys. Ferrari, in their wisdom. These are the brand new clips. You can see how wide that gap is there. This is the old one. It's about half the size. Now the way it works is when you push the trim in, this is our front trim. Watch this. So that goes like that. And that should sit on there. Does absolutely nothing. When you put this one on, it'll hold it nicely in place. There we go. I can't even get it off. There you go. So thanks Ferrari. We're going to use the proper tools here. With the clips freshly riveted in place, there was no way of getting them back out. So our solution was pretty simple. Using a plastic tool, we simply inserted it and closed the gaps up. This is nice, you know. This is the extra bit. This is going the extra mile. Look at that. Perfect. Looks like a surgeon. We then repeated the process on the front screen trim. Now this one was a little bit more tricky because it came in 2 pieces which had to be aligned perfectly in order for those to meet. While the guys refit those rear windows, I've got to say a massive thanks for once again getting involved and helping with the Ferrari projects. Collision Repair Group cover a broad spectrum of automotive repairs, from screens to ADAS calibration, coding and diagnostics. And unlike many companies out there, the major benefit of CRG is that they come to you at your home or at your company, and with national coverage plus the fact that they're always constantly expanding further afield, it makes them the best company to save in your phone book when you really want to get the job done perfectly. I'm going to put all of their contact details in the description below the video. Make sure you do yourself a favour and take a note. Something interesting I've just learnt from James is that most modern cars often have some kind of sensor or radar built into the front screen. Now, if you have a broken screen, it has to be replaced. Most companies will come and replace the screen, but they don't have the capability to then calibrate those sensors. So you would have to take it elsewhere. CRG have all that capability, so they can do the screen, they can do all the calibration at the same time. The guys at CRG have done a fantastic job of installing the windows. Really is starting to transform the car and make it look very special indeed. Unfortunately though, one foolish person forgot to install something, which meant the guys couldn't install the main window here and a little quarter glass there. Let me explain what happened. On the outside of the glass and on the door here sits one of these, or should sit one of these. This is kind of a window scraper, so it's rubber on the outside and it's kind of got this nice kind of velvety feel on the inside, and it stops all the water kind of getting into the door down there. Now, I should have refitted these before the guys turned up, and unfortunately I couldn't. All the other rubbers we've actually managed to reuse. There was nothing wrong with them, but this, let me show you, looks a little bit worn and weathered. I didn't really want to put this back on the car. Now it normally just, this is the one for the other side, so it sits in there and you can see it rivets in. So unfortunately with the windows in place, it meant I wouldn't be able to get to the rivets. And like I said, I don't really want to install this one, so I'm going to go and buy a couple of new ones and then we'll install these myself. All right, I've just got back from Ferrari and well, picked up two new ones. Over £100 each, and guess what? They're not even cut to size. I've got to trim them all myself and drill all the rivet holes before I can even fit the things. Should be fun. But they do look a lot nicer than those ones that came off it. In order to reinstall the quarter glass windows, I'm going to use a little trick that I came up with when we removed them, and it's all to do with these, the little suction cups for my cameras, which just so happen to be the perfect size to fit on the glass. Again, all of these windows are irreplaceable. They are no longer supplied by Ferrari, so I have to be ultra careful here. One of my friends is actually looking for a right side rear quarter window and frame. If anyone has any leads on that, please do let me know. I've also managed to get the little quarter glass in here. There's a little bit of finishing off on the rubber there, some seals to do. I've got the mirror wire hanging out, that's good. So starting to look really cool on the outside here. I've even just temporarily put the lock in place. It's not bolted in, it's just sitting there. Ferrari really did throw these cars together back in the day, literally putting anything in them to hide issues. And unfortunately, trying to make this car as factory as possible, I need to use those same messy methods. Just check out how they sealed these door windows in. If you look at the screen itself, look how much of that sealant they've used at the bottom there. Now, some of you might have noticed I have just installed some of the interior here, and well, two reasons for that. Number one is a feel good factor. We've got the dash in, we've got carpets in, something at the back here. They're all just loose, but the second reason is the main one I've done that, and that is because I am running out of space here. This over here is what I call BBi corner. We've got all the boxes, everything here, and we've got scattered around all over the place, and it takes me ages to find everything. So starting to put it back in the car, so we're starting to reassemble this as a complete unit. Now I've got all the little bits that I've just dug out, like locks and everything like that, ready to go on the car this afternoon. We're down to the final window. It's the one that goes up and down, lets me have a little bit of fresh air in the car. Well, I'm hoping that's the case actually, because the electric windows on this era of Ferraris is an absolute nightmare. I'll show you in a second why that is. In fact, was this one of the first Ferraris to have electric windows? 83? Probably not. No, can't be. Anyway, we've got to give it a good old clean up because where it was sat for all those years outside, we've got a massive build-up of crud on the glass. So let's start by doing that. Got my spray, got my little blade as well to get this horrible bit off here. Let's get this looking sparkling and new. We'll hit it with this. This bit here should be all right. Now this is the tricky bit. All right, that looks a little bit better. I was more concerned about this lower part that I can't get to once the window is installed. The rest of it, I'm going to clean obviously again once it's put in place. The electric windows on the BBi are pretty old school. It's controlled by this motor here and, well, it's simple, but very troublesome. So the way it works is you got, depending on your polarity, it's going to send the motor in one or two directions, which is going to bring your window up or down. And that motor then turns a cog where you've got a massive long metal cable attached to it. This pins to the glass and then that motion turns in there and your window goes up or down. Sounds simple, but it's a freaking nightmare. Our motor mounts on the back side here, and actually we've got a little access hole right there which allows you to put a manual kind of wrench in there if this fails, so you can actually wind up or down the windows. And well, motor sits in there, and then all of this cable has to route specifically around all of these little tiny pulley wheels here, here, up here, and it all intertwines with itself. Luckily, I was genius when I took it apart and I took some pictures of how it routes. One of the handiest tools to have while rebuilding this BBi is the old videos for reference. They have literally saved my bacon so many times. This one not only helped me figure out the routing of the cables, but also how to get the glass in and out. So I've now used my old pictures to figure out exactly the routing of all the cabling, and as you can see, it's pretty complex. Now, I will, once I've got all this working correctly, be cleaning up all of the pulleys, re-greasing everything, but for now I just want to test it. So I've got everything hooked up. Obviously there's no power on the car, but I've got myself a little 12-volt battery here, and if these are the two cables from the motor, so we put one onto negative, one onto positive, and we should be able to test it. I've got a little clamp there holding that one in place. Let's see what happens. Nice, 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 nice. Now, if I switch that around, we should be able to go the opposite way. And I need another hand here. 1 second. Okay, got my little clamp there, holding that in place. So, ready? Alrighty, so we go all the way down, all the way up. I've got no idea which way around that is, but what we now need to do is hook the window onto, I think it's going to be this one and this one here, and that should then raise and lower the window. Now this is going to be trial and error, a lot of trial and error. So let's just nip that up slightly so it holds onto the cable. It's bloody good. Yeah, so that's going right up to the top. It's pretty aligned. So I'm just going to play around with that for a little bit, but that is windows that have not been on the road. Now that is much better than any of the 308s that I've had, and it's the same system. So pretty damn good, impressive in fact. Anyway, I'm going to adjust all that, and well, we're nearly done. Look at that, guys. It's little wins like that, progress, that just make me feel so good about this car. I've got one more to do over there. I just need to get the rivets, but that is looking freaking cool. One thing you learn when you're doing a project like this is everything takes a heck of a lot longer than you actually anticipated. For example, these are the front fans. You're not even going to see these on the car. We're trying to get them so they're going to look as good as they were when they were new, if not better. So that's one. It's also a lot of trial and error. So we've painted the top bit. This is the plastic, and just trying to get this back to something looking a bit better than it is already. And again, like I say, it's just, sometimes you've got to take a bit of a gamble. I put a bit of polish on it. We polish it all up with this, and actually, surprisingly, it comes up really quite well. Look at that in comparison. Job done. And like I say, you don't even see this on the car, but there you go. That's madness for you. So we're back onto our grill dilemma. Now, thanks to everyone on the socials who responded. You guys came up tops. This is the solution you come up with. This looks like some kind of rivet gun. I'm not even convinced it is a rivet gun. Someone will tell me. I'll put this on B-roll, but it fits perfectly within our slots, and I've even done a little test off camera, and it works. It does the job. So let's fit the grills on the back of the car. Now I'm going to do this from inside the engine. Just got to make sure that doesn't slip over there. Very, very carefully, because I've got much more access in here. Right, let's do it. Now that fits nicely in there, but I'm going to take one more precaution. I'm just going to put a bit of tape over that bit there, just to stop it rubbing my paintwork. I'll leave it quite loose so the rivet can work. Cool. So that goes like so. That goes in there. Oh, it sounds so nasty. Okay. All right, one down, 5,000 more to go. And another 36. Now, to make everything look more factory, Ferrari actually painted the rivets body color. So we've got a little bit of the Bianco 100. I'm going to do exactly the same. Now I'm just going to fit these grills, but kind of find exactly which bolts need to go on them, so I'm just going to use these temporary. I thought it was a little bit better to play it safe and lower the lid there. I really didn't want this beautiful cover, all that work that's gone into it, fall down and drop on the floor. Anyway, it's on loose, but it's not going to go anywhere. Look at that, it's really starting to take shape. Now, we've got a couple more things. Obviously, I'm going to do a bit of research and find out exactly the fixings for this one. I've got the lock to go in the center there, but I'm not going to put it in because there's a lot of adjustment I need to do with the actual catches itself at the moment. So that's going to go in a little bit later on. But the one thing that we're missing is the spoiler here at the back. Now, my man Jake has got that. He's been working on it this week. Now, I've also got these mesh pieces, 1, 2, and there's one down there. Now, they sit on the underside of these grills and stop all the debris getting into the engine. We're going to fit those back in place to almost complete the rear engine lid, and it also gives me an opportunity to use my lovely new rivet gun once again. And as I did on the white grills, again, I'm painting in the rivets, this time in a satin black finish. I'm sure you'll agree, it's starting to look really good, even on the underside of their engine lid. All right, so the side grills are looking great. I've got the central one to do, but I think I might have just screwed up quite badly. Let me show you. So whereas the mesh on the sides is held in by these trim pieces and then they're riveted on this side, on the central one, because this little rib here is so thin, the grill goes on and then the side bits here go and they rivet on through the sides. And well, as you can see, it's very thin and you might already realize the problem here. It looks like when you rivet this grill in, you're also meant to rivet in the mesh and these bits that hold it in place either side like this, and the rivet goes all the way through the hole here, here and here. There's no other holes and there's no other way of holding this in place. You can see it's got the 3 holes in it. So I might have to now remove this central grill, drill out all of the rivets again and start afresh, which is rather risky because again, getting a drill bit in here to remove the rivets is going to be a little bit sketchy. Anyway, for now, I'm going to leave this one and try and figure out the best solution. If you got any ideas, let me know in the comments below. Now, the final thing would obviously be to fit our Ferrari badges, our BBi badges, our Pininfarina badges on the side there. I've put them in place so you can see just how good it looks, but we're not going to fit them at the moment because there's a big reason for this. Now, I don't know if you've noticed this in the videos. I did actually mention it when we painted the car. We haven't done that final polish on here. You might see it, it might be a little bit orange peely in places. We've done it on purpose because I'm still working on the car. We're going around it all the time, fitting bits, taking them off, refitting it. I didn't want to just risk it. So we've got that final polish on the paintwork to make it gleam. That's going to happen. So bits like this where they're raised, there's no point me fitting them just yet. Now, I did want to fit all the door locks in place on here, but again, a bit of a problem. See, this center bit here, the actual door card that sits here is in 2 pieces. That's the central bit, and I think this is going to be a problem. The final bit on this car is going to be retrimming the interior, and this is going to be the problem bit, trying to get new material for this because it is a little bit faded and I do want to replace it. So if anyone's got any genius ideas, let me know. I do want it to be factory, so it does need to be exactly the same. Anyway, back to the point. This is the door lock here and we're going to clean it up, but it is firmly secured to this cable here, which goes onto here. And again, at that end, it's firmly secured. So I can't actually remove it from this piece. So either I hang that here and then put that in place over here, or I don't do anything at all. So I'm going to try and figure that one out. I do need to clean it all up though, and I do want to test it all working. And the other thing on this car that was not working, that I've never had any success with, it had central locking. So I want to get that working as well. Now, I really would like to mount the mirrors on the BBi because it will complete the exterior and it will be an amazing feel-good factor, but I'm not really quite happy with them at the moment. We did work on them before. This is the driver's side one. And well, this is the one I'm really not happy with. That was the passenger side one. That came out all right, actually. But this one, it's not good enough, to be honest. Also, I need to replace that lens. I'm going to borrow one off a spare mirror that I have, but these are very expensive, so I would like to replace that if anyone's got any ideas on that one. So here is what we're going to do. This is not up to scratch, so I spoke to Jake, and Jake is going to see if he can improve these somehow, work some magic on them, and we'll get these looking tip top. Well guys, that is it for this week's progress on the BBi. It's really starting to take shape now. It's nearly all sealed up again. I've got one more window to do, a few more jobs to finish off over there. We'll have all that done by the time you come back for the next video. I've got to be doing a load of work in the front, in the back, and then the other biggie that we're going to start to approach is the interior. So if anyone's got any suggestions on who really can work on the interior on this one's a very special one. So we need the right leather, we need the right cloth, And it all has to be exactly how it came out from factory on this one. I'm not changing a thing. Anyway, guys, thank you all very much for watching. I will see you all in the next one. Stay safe and ciao for now.